We've been working a lot closely actually with Henrico County. They just announced a $60 million trust fund program for affordable housing, just working with developers as part of their rezoning cases. And Henrico County is being like, if you want to build here, we want some affordable homes. And working with orgs like us to have a portion of that development to be affordable.
Welcome to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1, part of the Mike King Biz Media Network. You can catch us each week here at 6 o'clock on Thursdays, and you can also stream us live at the same time on ESPNRichmond.com, on LinkedIn, and as well on YouTube. You can also watch full episodes of previously aired broadcasts on YouTube, and now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Today, we're in the ESPN studio with Lark Washington, the Chief Operating Officer of the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. As a big advocate for affordable housing in the community, I'm super excited about this conversation. And thank you for joining us here in the studio. I'm going to start you out with the same question that we ask everybody. Are you native to Richmond, or did you move here at some point? And if so, what brought you to the community?
Yes, so I'm not native to Richmond. I moved here in 2017, but I am a Virginia girl. I'm from Hampton Roads, 757. So I went to college at University of Virginia and moved down here actually after a grad program up in Massachusetts. So kind of bounced around a little bit after college and then ended up here in Richmond. Wonderful. In 2017.
Well, tell me, what part of Hampton Roads are you from?
Suffolk.
Okay. I spent 15 years in Williamsburg, so I always have to ask. And two different worlds.
Yes.
If you don't live down there, you don't know.
And it's big. It's a lot of cities.
Yeah. That tunnel is a big separator for us down there.
Yes. No, between the peninsula and, the other side too. So, yes.
We've got bridges here in Richmond, but no tunnels, thankfully.
Yes.
And, so tell me a little bit about why Richmond. What caused you to pick here? What has been something that you find rewarding about this community?
Yes. So initially I moved to Richmond because I've always wanted to live in a city, and an affordable city at that. New York is expensive. DC is expensive. And at the time I thought I wanted to work in politics. So I was like, oh, Richmond's a city and it's a capital. This is perfect. And I can afford rent here. So, and it's familiar because I had friends from college that lived in the area. So it just seemed like a good fit.
Great. Well, I think folks find their way to Richmond a lot of different ways, and it's easy to stay here once you found it. Right?
Yes, for sure. And I would visit Richmond, especially during college, my friends who went to VCU. So I love the restaurant scene. I was vegetarian for 11 years, no longer. And I love that there were vegan and vegetarian restaurants here. So I always kept that in the back of my mind on what to look for in cities as well.
Well, we have some special dietary restrictions at home that cause us to always be negotiating where we're going to go to dinner, but there's no shortage of places with options for everybody. So
yes.
I like that too. So tell me, you are a public planner by training, and you worked in that space. Tell me a little bit about how life takes you from studying that and immersing in it, and then moving into more of the housing space. You've kind of been all over, and not really all over, but what's the relationship between those things, if you would share?
Yes, of course. So I kind of fell into planning, and I think a lot of people do. I don't think I realized until after I graduated undergrad, but I actually did take an urban planning class of the myriad classes I did, as one of those classes where I'm oh, this is easy compared to my engineering classes at the time. But I actually got introduced with it with Dr. Elsie Harper Anderson. She's a professor at the Wilder School at VCU. And I was working a million jobs. I was working campaign political jobs because I thought I wanted to go that direction. And she was studying actually entrepreneurial ecosystems in urban centers. And so I just asked her hey, can I just intern for you to just see the work you do, what urban planning is about? And that's how I learned about the urban planning program at VCU. And so also during that time, I believe it was 2016, I could get that wrong, Matthew Desmond released the book Evicted. And highly recommend that book. And that really kind of changed my view on like the housing crisis in the United States, my own family's history with the housing crisis, not viewing it as like a personal failure, but also like the symptom of a larger issue of like what this country has undergone. So, yeah. And then I realized urban planning kind of addresses so many facets of spaces, so transportation, housing, economic development, environment. So I was just always fascinated in the housing realm and didn't know if there was going to be like much of a career out of it. Like now there is, obviously, but I was like, I want to study and see if I can contribute to this housing crisis. So, and that was my thesis actually in the MERT program, was the eviction crisis in Richmond.
So I saw that you were a Wilder Fellow at Plan RVA. That was the internship that you were talking about. Yeah. So we had Saran Adhikari from that organization in here to talk about the data side of community health, and that was such a fascinating conversation. They do such important work over there, and I'm glad that they recognize, as do a lot of other organizations, that in Richmond and everywhere else, affordable housing is economic development.
Yes.
So I'm interested in this in a lot of different facets, but as we talk about access, the 30-year mortgage, when it was created in the 30s, was a very innovative product.
Yes.
It was awesome for helping us build our GDP.
Yes.
But we're now in this place where housing isn't affordable anymore, and the 30-year mortgage doesn't solve the problem.
Yes.
So we need other solutions, and that's the space that you're in. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust does? I know we'll talk about some different programs, but just kind of broadly share it with our listeners.
Yes, of course. So the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust is a nonprofit. It's an affordable housing developer, and our mission is to develop and steward permanently affordable homeownership opportunities. So we build homes and then we sell them to income eligible home buyers. And our focus is to really increase BIPOC homeownership. So that's, broadly our work. We build the homes and then we try to, do our outreach to target, BIPOC home buyers, first-time home buyers. But all in all, it's an income-based program.
And just because I at one time had this acronym wrong, and I'm sure some of our listeners do, will you just share what BIPOC means?
Yes, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So our namesake Maggie Walker was the first woman to establish a bank in the United States. And, the first bank in that area to offer the first mortgage loans to African Americans in Jackson Ward. So our organization, our board, thought it was very important to make sure racial equity and Black homeownership, BIPOC homeownership was a critical part of our work. So going into neighborhoods, making folks know that we're out here, this option for homeownership exists. I should say the homeownership that we offer is under the Community Land Trust model. It's a limited equity model to make the homes permanently affordable. And what that means is when we sell the home, we retain ownership of the land. So we're able to sell a home for $170,000, for example, and it may appraise for $350,000. And so, and I feel like our sales prices are pretty comparable to our other affordable housing peers. And on the lower end, I see on par with the Habitat for Humanity. But yeah, and we try to educate folks because people have a different view of homeownership, because homeownership in the United States is, a critical part of wealth building for your family. So we want to be upfront to saying, hey, this is part of a limited equity. You kind of have a cap on the resale price. Once you decide to resale, you can sell your home anytime or stay in it forever and pass it on to your heirs. But to maintain this home as affordable, make sure that's understood, because most affordable home ownership programs and affordable housing programs are not permanent. There's a term, or it loses the affordability after a resale.
Great. Well, we'll talk more about that when we come back from a short break and a lot more about all that you guys do. You are listening to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1 FM. You can catch us here each week on Thursdays at 6 a.m. Please, if you're not already, subscribe to us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and really any socials that you find out there. If you are a podcast listener, please go and subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We are in the ESPN studio today with Lark Washington, the COO of the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. We're talking about the important topic of housing affordability, housing access, and the important programs that Maggie Walker Community Land Trust affords our community residents. I want to talk a little bit about going back to that BIPOC focus. There's a reason why that problem is the problem that needs attention. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between some of our historical housing practices, both in Richmond and nationwide, that have led us to really needing to focus community resources on this?
Of course. So I guess in short, as most viewers I'm sure know, our country and our city has a legacy of draining wealth from Black communities and communities of color for decades. So you may have heard of the term redlining. That didn't give access to mortgage loans or credit to African Americans at Black neighborhoods. And then that turned into urban renewal, displacing Black folks to create the highways. And then we have foreclosure crisis. I know my family was impacted by that at the time. That subprime mortgage loans that really were predatory towards Black Americans. And now we have the eviction crisis. So kind of all these waves that Black Americans have been experiencing, and America at large. Mm-hmm. But, that saying, when America catches the cold, we have the flu. So kind of like not being able to catch a breath and catch up. And I want to share for context that the Black homeownership, the Black-white homeownership gap is worse than it was when the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was passed. So, at the end of Jim Crow era, we're still struggling with Black folks being able to buy their homes. So I just want to, share that because it's still a very big issue for affordable housing.
Well, as somebody who's been in a family who's impacted by things like the eviction crisis or the subprime mortgage crisis, I can only imagine that, when you're told, and perhaps you even experienced what it's like to build generational wealth, only to have that stripped away by some, market event or perhaps some intentional, long ago thing. Yes. that then, I would imagine that's got to be discouraging and disheartening and a lot of things that just cause frustration and feeling of giving up. I mean, I can't speak for anybody that's gone through that, but I can only imagine it's got to be hard.
Oh, yes. And luckily my family had friends, and the foreclosure process takes longer than the eviction process does. And my family experienced a foreclosure, but it is a destabilizing event. You don't know if you'll be in your house next month. So it did definitely shaped my childhood, and it shaped my family life. And there was a shame with it. Mm-hmm. No one wanted to openly talk about the struggles of that, like uprooting your kids from their schools. And in terms of Richmond has the highest eviction rate in the country for cities. And that means, and I believe the eviction rate was a 12% overall, but some neighborhoods were as high as 33%. So that means 11% of renters get evicted. And those are, that's the people that went through the court process. So we're not counting the folks that just left at the threat of eviction. So, that's destabilizing for families, for neighborhoods, for children. Families are more likely to be housing unstable than households without children. So it's very much a community issue. It's a child welfare issue. It's a housing issue.
Well, as somebody who spends a lot of time in the homeless space as a board member at Housing Families First, one thing that I don't know why it struck me when I learned it, but people are not, homeless forever. People are not, struggling financially forever. I think a lot of times we will paint Americans as poor or homeless or some kind of, permanent affliction, if you will. Yes. And that's because we have a momentary view into their lives. I think that there's a lot more humanity that we can, pay in dignity and respect to people who are experiencing these problems and recognize them as temporary events that they need help with, as opposed to, they didn't do something right. And
exactly.
Therefore, they don't deserve my help. That's a narrative that is totally imagined and imagined in people's minds.
Yes, and I think people realize now more than ever with the inflation happening, that most folks are one disaster away from missing their rents, like a medical emergency, losing a job. So, unforeseen things happen, or, you have an expensive car repair. I worked at DHCD with upstanding the Virginia eviction reduction pilot. And that pilot was basically about offering flexible money for folks to stay in their homes. So the money could go towards transportation, it could go towards childcare, it could go towards medical bills. This pilot was thought of, this was created before the pandemic, but it launched during the pandemic. So it was kind of dwarfed by the rent relief program. But programs like that are important to offer flexible supports for families that have unforeseen challenges, because the home is the root of everything, right? And some families are kind of making the choice whether to pay a bill or whether they can keep a house. So,
Well, I know that through Mayors for Guaranteed Income, we're participating pilot city. I mean, it's seen tremendous data from programs, where you give people who are in that threshold, where if they make a little bit more money on their W-2,
yeah,
they lose all these benefits that are way more than
yes,
what that raise is. But what we're seeing is those folks who get that assistance, they climb beyond and they're able to stabilize their families.
yes, yes. And of course, and I'm sure there's some folks that maybe need more assistance long term, but there's a lot of folks that just need that one time help.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in the VERT program as well. Just making sure that the supports are there and the need is definitely there.
Well, so you talked about the core program that you guys offer. Are there other programs that you guys work around, and kind of how are ways that you partner with other organizations in the community to make what you do possible?
Yes, so I would describe our program as, so we have a home ownership program. We offer info sessions every month via Zoom. It's usually on a Tuesday evening. So go to our website, MWCLT.org, to check that out. They're free. But basically, we have a program staff whose job it is to inform community members about the community land trust model, basically to make sure we have a wait list of income eligible folks who are pre-qualified with a mortgage lender. And of course, folks have a difficult time qualifying for a mortgage. So that team also assists, like getting those folks mortgage ready, because for some people it takes years. We also just wrapped up earlier this year our lease to own pilot. So this idea of leasing your home and then using that time to become mortgage ready. So we put the lease payments as like escrow payments towards their home when they purchase. And 3 out of the 4 families purchased their homes. So we're really excited about that. We're actually internally as staff wrapping up an evaluation to see whether we should continue to offer that. But we thought that was very important and a critical need to increase more BIPOC home buyers. Because a lot of folks need that support. Maybe they don't have family members that previously bought homes, so it's a challenging process to navigate. And then on the side of the work I do, I'm more on the development side, so making sure we have enough revenue coming in. So I do a lot of grants. We also do a lot of development partnerships with larger builders or developers. We have great relationships with localities to offer us land, or even to introduce us to developers who want to develop in their communities. So,
well, I don't know that everybody realizes, but government is not the best place for community experiments.
yes.
Sometimes we can do it, but it's not always politically feasible. But the nonprofit world is our test bed for society to figure out solutions to problems.
Yes.
How do you guys think about innovation at Maggie Walker Community Land Trust? And it sounds like you are actively innovating and conducting studies. So what else is on the horizon, do you see?
Yes. So I know on our side, we really want to continue serving the folks we serve despite the rising costs of construction, making that case to funders to localities that it is worth investing in this because folks are being priced out of their homes. So we've been working a lot closely actually with Henrico County. They just announced a $60 million trust fund program for affordable housing, and they want our organization to be part of that work. So just working with developers as part of their rezoning cases when they do these large subdivisions. And Henrico County is being like, if you want to build here, we want some affordable homes. And working with orgs like us to have a portion of that development to be affordable. So that's remarkable. That's never been done before, like a locality proffering a developer to include affordable housing. I believe that can be a precedent, for the rest of the country.
Well, I work alongside Javon Burton on the board at Housing Families First, and I know he's very involved with that project through Partnership for Housing Affordability.
Yes.
So we will have him back in the studio. He was here last year to talk to us. But lots of exciting things going on there. We're going to take another little break, and when we come back, we'll talk about Richmond kind of more broadly. So you are listening to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1. We're super excited to have you here this morning, and we want you to check out americashealthiestcity.com if you have not already. There you can find our ideas board where you can submit ideas of your own, you can comment on ideas that have been left by others, and you can also learn what it takes to become an ambassador. We are looking for businesses, nonprofits, government institutions, and academic institutions who are looking to see this mission through. We're looking to make Richmond, the entire region, the healthiest in America by 2033. We need everybody's help. So we're in the studio today with Lark Washington, the COO of the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, talking about the innovative solutions they provide to ensure more Richmonders can get into a home that they own their own. I want to talk a little bit more broadly about Richmond and maybe see if we could sprinkle some ideas onto our ideas board that you might have for how we might make Richmond a healthier place, and recognizing both for our listeners' sake and for your own, we look at health through the lens of social determinants. So there's around 25 different metrics that we're interested in seeing be improved in order to actually move the needle. But we do ask our guests, if they have any ideas that they can inject into our ideas board. We welcome that thought. And while you think about it, if you haven't already, we also look for other folks in the community that we might be able to talk to. I don't remember who referred you to us. I wish I had looked that up before the podcast started. Okay. But you were a referral by somebody else who we interviewed in the past.
Oh, wow. Yes, please let me know who that was. But yeah, I know we really want to include developments with amenities, with parks, with green spaces, walkable communities. So Maggie Walker kind of started doing, your typical infill development, a lot here, a lot there. And we're actually just wrapping up our first subdivision in Southern Chesterfield. It's called Ettrick Landing. So it's 10 homes, and it's, a big deal for a small organization to do a subdivision. So we really want to do more partnerships where we can offer green spaces, parks, walking spaces. Ettrick Landing has a walking trail throughout it. So we want to do more and bigger. And I think that would be great to partner with local orgs to really build out the vision folks have, because, we're in the development business, but I really feel like communities can really help us envision what they want, what a healthy Richmond looks like. So I welcome all the ideas. You want to work with us.
So I think I read that you guys have, you operate a budget of about $4.2+ million a year.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners how you get funding, and, is there a way that our listeners can be involved with your organization to contribute?
For sure. So we are primarily funded by grants. So most of our revenue are grants. We also are funded by donations. So you please visit our website, MWCLT.org, to donate. You can donate by PayPal or mail a check to our office. But actually, that's actually my long-term goal, is to actually establish an annual giving program because we don't solicit our donations. People are just casually found us on, the internet or wherever, and they just sent contributions. We also are trying to do better about recouping a developer fee, so that developers do that. We have done a poor job of recouping that because we just want to build the homes for as cheaply as possible and sell as cheaply as possible. But we realize as we grow that it is important to pay ourselves with this work. So that is also part of our revenue as well. So we get a lot of support from foundations, government, especially on the development side. So, yeah.
But if developers are looking to build affordable housing, they should definitely reach out to you guys.
Yes, please reach out to us. I know we've been in talks with a couple developers and for related to the Henrico Trust Fund. So yes, please reach out to us.
And are there any events coming up or anything that listeners should know about? Anything you're looking for that you need access to that you're still working on?
Yes. So actually, I mentioned the Ettrick Landing subdivision. We are actually ending construction. So if you're looking for a house, we're about to list 6 more houses. The first 4, I believe, are under contract already. So check us out. We always have homes finishing throughout the year. So if you're interested in home ownership, do that. We're also about to finish our 100th home. So we're going to do a big party and we're going to invite homeowners, funders, the board, supporters to just celebrate the monumental milestone of building 100 homes.
Well, hopefully I'll invite the folks from the Continuum as well because I'd love to be there.
Yes. I'll definitely.
Monumentous.
Yes. We're going to send the save the date out next week. So it'll be in late October. So we're excited about that.
Great. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I welcome you back anytime you've got news to share or just anytime you want to come hang out with me. And, if you have, folks at home, how can they get in touch with you so that they can know how to be more involved?
Yes. You could just go to our website, MWCLT.org. Go to always email me, just Lark, L-A-R-K, at MWCLT.org. I'll try to be better about emailing back, but I will. I'll eventually reach out. But yeah, just hit us up if you have ideas. If you just want to chat about the work we do, because we really want folks to know who we are and what we do. And we really value the community and community land trust. So check us out.
And Lark is selling herself short. She responded very quickly to our email asking her to come into the studio. So, well, you are listening to America's Healthiest City on ESPN Richmond 106.1. I've really enjoyed having you here today. I hope you'll tune in next Thursday at 6 a.m. We'll catch you next time.